Long before the French and British sailed here to cut down the woods and inhabit the land, there were, of course, people living in Canada. Europeans called these people Indians. Modern-day Canadians use the respectful term First Nations. But does respectful language also mean respectful treatment? I have come to the town of Smithers to talk to the families of indigenous girls who have been killed. It is the summer of 2019, the time of a heartbreaking anniversary. One of the girls from this community, Ramona Wilson, was found dead 25 years ago. Ramona's case still hasn't been solved. Why did you cook so much?
I had too much to do.
But you're expecting a lot of people?
We have refreshments after the walk, and we always have good food. I guarantee you, yes.
I can vouch for that.
This is my partner, Dougie. He knows, he loves my food, so.
How long have you been together?
This August 11th will be 7 years. Yeah.
7 years. Oh, he even knows the date, August 11th.
That's a good man you've got there.
But I forgot that. Oh.
I'll never forget that, sweetie.
How many people are you expecting?
It differs every year. Eh? Sometimes there's about 200, sometimes there's about 50. It just don't know. I think there's more people coming now because there was a girl missing just 45 minutes away from Smithers. They just found her vehicle and there was no sign of her. It just happened on December 23rd.
Oh, really recent.
Last fall in September, my uncle's granddaughter, she was murdered by the Hudson Bay Mountain Road. On the Lookout, they called the place there. And there's never been any word ever since about who murdered her. And that's just recent too, in September. Yes, and it happened up here in Smithers on the mountain.
What's her name, sweetie? Jessica?
Jessica Patrick. Yeah. And she was 18 years old. She had one little baby girl. You know, for me, it has been 25 years since my daughter was murdered behind the Yellage Road there. June 11th, 1994, this happened. She had just gone to visit her friends a few miles out of town. And I don't know, we're just assuming that she was hitchhiking to Morristown.
But you don't know.
But we don't know if she'd been picked up right in town or picked up on the highway. But as you know, she was found 10 months later.
Yeah, it's crazy that after 25 years, there's still no answers.
No answers. Every day takes a toll, you know, because it keeps you wondering on why this continues to happen.
Ramona was such a beautiful girl. She was always so bubbly, and she had a lot of high school friends. And sometimes I think she was too trustful with people. It's so hard to try and carry on, but I do, because we need voices and we need people to know that we are very serious about the missing and the murdered.
I'm sorry for doing this to you.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna try and clean up.
I'm gonna help you. Let's see what I can do. Some dishes. Matilda has been telling her daughter's story to film crews like ours for years now, opening the wound again and again. It hasn't brought answers yet, and it hasn't stopped girls from going missing. But perhaps it's also a way of remembering. While Ramona's family make preparations for the memorial walk, I go to a campsite to visit Crystal, Ramona's best friend from childhood, who is not Indigenous.
Ramona and myself, we spent a lot of time here, and it's kind of a monumental place, I guess, for me. A lot of the time we would consider the river as our way to toss our memories in there and let them flow away. And Ramona was a believer that putting your memories back into Mother Earth and kind of giving them to her, she would take care of them and take them away from you and free you of the burden.
And you did this as well?
Yes, we did this together a lot, and I think it just created a peace within us both that sometimes really hard to describe. And I didn't realize it was going to be taken so quickly in my life.
Can you tell me about the day you found out she was missing?
She had missed school that day, but I didn't feel like there was reason to be extremely alarmed, because I don't feel that Ramona would have put herself into any vulnerable situation. As a youth, I put myself into a lot of vulnerable situations.
Like, what would be a vulnerable situation?
Well, just like, I just consumed like alcohol and, basically like marijuana and alcohol like at a pretty young age. And I guess in a way, I feel that I was more likely to end up hurt or missing. Like we hitchhiked before. Like hitchhiking is obviously a very vulnerable situation. Quite possibly that was her intention, was to go on the road and catch a ride with somebody. And how did it happen that Ramona ended up where she ended up? And I didn't.
Why Ramona and not her non-Indigenous friend? You can say it's bad luck, but cold statistics show the dice are loaded. For an Indigenous woman in Canada, the chances of being killed are nearly 6 times as high. The violence of colonialism has never ended, concluded a national committee researching the missing and murdered Indigenous women. I traveled to a nearby village to speak to Ramona's aunt, one of the women who testified for that committee.
This is known as the Gitsan, a place of the Gitsan, and I'm Gitsan and I belong to the Wolf clan. And I was born and raised here, and my mother was a tour guide here. And
Your mother was a tour guide, because it's a tourist village.
Yes, this is a tourist village. But this is a replica of how we lived hundreds of years ago, and only in the last 200 years it's changed.
Now, the town of Hazelton is a trading center for more than 2,000 Indians. Here they live in houses built among the white man's. They work in or near the town. Their children go to schools run by the Canadian government. So it's a long way back to the time when they lived in huts built of cedar shakes, and their constant struggle was against the famine. Yet life is not as simple as it was for their ancestors. The Indian must understand the white man's world and live in it.
We have been on this land for thousands of years, and you know, I live in a matriarchal society, and matriarchal society is where we hold our women up high. I am a wing chief and my sister's a high chief. I want to say that we are not disposable. It's like all these women are going missing and we aren't being protected as Native women. I've gone through a lot of trauma when Ramona went missing. They told us that they found her remains, and my mom wanted to go bless the area. But I was so distraught going to that area. It was really a big cedar tree, and they laid Ramona's body right straight across. And after they murdered her, they folded her clothes. And I knelt down and I picked up the soil of where Ramona's remains were. And when I picked them up, there was hair in my hand, and I was looking at it, and there was fibers in my hand. And it was the fiber of Ramona's jeans that she was wearing. To find her hair just totally shocked me. And when I brought the evidence to the police, they told me that, oh, well, there's no police here and you'll have to come back tomorrow. I just didn't feel like I was even being heard. I was just like, I was a pain in the butt and you go away, like sort of thing. So I don't trust RCMP. I don't feel safe as an Indigenous woman in Canada. I feel like there's a target on me, and could I be next?
This is my niece, Marilyn Chipman, that disappeared. It'd be 14 years ago. She was 22, young mother of one. And she's disappeared off the face of the earth. There's still no answers today. And they're not working on it.
They're not working on it.
She's Aboriginal, they don't care. But I did a lot of work since she's been missing. I try and keep track. It's really hard because you're doing 2-3 missing posters every single day on Facebook. And the majority First Nations women, so what can we do?
How many people do you have on here?
I have over 4,000 on my list.
On your list? 4,000?
Yeah, from all across Canada. These are all unsolved and missing women. We want to find them. We want to find them now. I'm getting sick and tired of our women going missing and being murdered for no goddamn reason other than our land and our resources. I'm getting sick and tired of hearing of our young mothers leaving their kids behind to be raised by this society. Our women matter to us. Our women are sacred life givers of society, and they keep going missing. When is it going to stop? What can we do to make society care?
With so many victims, an outsider like me also begins to wonder whether the police are doing enough to solve these crimes and gain the trust of the people. But the local officers do not want to speak to us. And every time I pass the police station, it is closed. Eventually, I do get to talk to an officer from a special task force for the Highway of Tears. He's investigating 18 cold cases like Ramona's.
So Project Ipana is an investigation that focused on the missing and murdered women and girls along major highways throughout British Columbia to look for commonalities to see whether a serial killer was preying on these women or looking for a pattern in their murders or their disappearances. The commonality appeared to be a lot of the women were either walking or hitchhiking or engaged in a high-risk activity such as that along the highway, and that was a commonality of cases, or at least one of the commonality of cases that was examined.
So can you tell me more about Ramona's case?
Yeah, so Ramona Wilson went missing on June 11th, 1994. That was grad weekend here in Smithers, so there were lots of parties going on, and we know that she left her residence. There were sightings of her in various locations. Ultimately, at a certain point in the evening, she decided that she was going to go to Morristown to go see a friend there, and that's a direction that we're going in now, is towards Morristown, BC, as we travel west on Highway 16, also unfortunately known as the Highway of Tears. We know that she never arrived in Morristown. She was reported missing to the police on the Monday, June 13th, I believe that is. These are stranger-on-stranger attacks, and they are the most difficult to solve in police. There aren't the typical leads as we see in domestic violence, or what you might qualify as being usual suspects. Stranger on stranger is just that. A stranger comes into the victim's life, and unfortunately we're there trying to connect the dots, and those dots become very, very difficult to connect.
Is it generally the case that it's strangers? Do you know?
I don't have those statistics in front of me. I can't comment on that.
And they're mostly indigenous, these 8.
I'd have to look at my sheets to see exactly, but certainly they are overrepresented.
Why is that? Do you know?
You know, that would be societal factors. I mean, that's for the police. I don't think I have any specific comment on that. That's more of a question of society, I suppose. I mean, I'm not going to comment on, the history of Canada.
For an officer dealing with murders all the time, Ron is remarkably nervous when answering my questions. It's striking that he cannot tell me some basic facts, such as the number of Indigenous women within his cold cases. He took the effort to come over from Vancouver to attend Ramona's memorial, but his discomfort is tangible.
We continue to get leads, we continue to get tips, and that's what's going to bring these cases forward and hopefully bring closure to the families, and we can help them on their journey of healing and, of course, bring justice to these missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls.
Dear Lord, we're standing here before you with our heart broken, and we pray that you will lead us with a stronger spirit. I know you're amongst us. You will bless every one of us and take the sorrows a little bit off our shoulders, oh Lord. Amen.
What are you singing? I asked the woman who is walking beside me, whose sign I'm carrying. She doesn't know the exact meaning of the lyrics, but she says it's a female warrior song. Underneath all the pain, there's still a foundation of pride.
We've been here with our supporters for 25 years. That's when Ramona was murdered, my youngest little daughter. She was 16. And what we're standing here for today is that nobody is going to sweep this under the rug. Nobody. And if this happens again, we beg the authorities, the RCMP, to step up as soon as you can, because it's important. Everybody has to know what happened to your loved one, your beautiful, beautiful child. Oh, Lord, please help us. Thank you so much. We'll see all of you at the hall. Thank you.
As daylight fades, the similarities creep up on you. This town looks and feels like Twin Peaks. It's beautiful, but sinister. The anonymous highway, the trucks that dash by, the motels filled with strangers. This is a place where it's easy to disappear. Every man becomes a potential threat. Every girl a potential target.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Is this already the Highway of Tears?
This is the Highway of Tears, yep.
Do you know any of the girls?
My daughter was with one Ramona Wilson at a baseball game, and Ramona Wilson wanted my daughter to hitchhike with her to Morristown, and my daughter knew better, so she refused, and that's the night that Ramona Wilson was killed.
Wow.
So,
And
yeah,
it comes
it's
very close.
very close. You know, she was 13 or 14 when that happened, and I always told her, you know, like, don't ever hitchhike. And you still see it on the highways. You still see the indigenous and everybody hitchhiking up here. It's just plain dangerous. Like, you know, you never know who you're gonna pick up.
You think it's strangers?
Well,
do
it's
this?
people, there's a lot of people that pass through here to go to Alaska from America. And there's a lot of transport trucks. There's a lot of people from down south where the cities are. And you see a young girl hitchhiking. I mean, there's a lot of strange people out in the world nowadays. I think that these people found the opportunity and happened to be natives, because the natives tend to put themselves in that predicament, you know? The native people that I have in the cab, they're all on that other side of the life, half of them, and homeless and on welfare and addiction problems. And I've taken them out to the bridge in Smithers and let them off. Well, where are you going? Like, what are you doing is what I asked them. They're hitchhiking. And they're young, beautiful women. But they're intoxicated or on drugs. And they're putting themselves out there. That's just like standing out in the middle of the night in the bush and waiting for that grizzly to attack you. I mean, why would you do that? I think it's all the way you're brought up. If you're brought up on the reservations, you have a whole different way of thinking. You know, there's not too many natives that I see nowadays that live the old ways. The elders are all passing away, and there's still a few out there in the northern BC that do it like my grandma did, you know, and that was a interesting way of life. You know,
What kind of life?
my grandma was you could put her out in the bush and she would survive. She would shoot the moose, she would skin the moose in the bush, she'd quarter it and pack it out herself. Very strong woman. She knew about the berries and the roots and the things that you needed to live off the land. And she couldn't read or write, totally illiterate, but she was the smartest woman I ever talked to. Yeah, it's the world and the way it works. And there's all kinds of people out there that think all kinds of thoughts. And some of them are pretty nasty.
It's dangerous to hitchhike, to go out alone at night, to talk to strangers. When you grow up as a girl, your freedom is limited on all sides. Having to be careful all the time, it's exhausting and stifling. And if you already feel worthless, with nothing to lose and little to gain, who can blame you for not taking care that much?
And then another block on. I was like,
I did that. Look at all the scars from my face from fucking.
Hey, did you just finish that? What was this?
yeah, it's a 74 Sherry.
74. Sherry. But now it's gone.
Yeah.
Almost.
You want to get in.
So why is it that so many people here are addicted to drugs, use alcohol?
I think everyone's addiction is mostly alcohol.
But why is it here?
I think mine was because both my parents are alcoholics, and I just kind of followed that path. And I was trying to break it, but I don't know. I can't. It is really difficult. Oh, look, it's Hazel and Christy. Shorty. The two shortest ones. Shorty want to be a thug? Hey, there's more and more of our family coming
They
in.
don't call it Shorty for nothing.
Yeah? How you doing?
Shit. Yeah, the shit that's happening around Smithers
This is crazy.
fucking no. Us
It's
Native
never
women.
this crazy. It's never this
Us
crazy.
Native women.
It's
are.
been getting fucking pretty crazy.
You don't
now,
see a
like,
fucking white
like,
chick fucking
Last
being
year, if you guys came here, we
killed
all
or
would be getting
fucking
along with each other.
drugged up.
But I used to hitchhike by myself, but I don't anymore. Look, I found my shoes. It's too scary.
But it's necessary to hitchhike?
They do have a transit bus that goes back and forth.
down and out with money.
But when you don't have money, right? So you gotta hitchhike. See, these are the transit tickets.
Oh yeah, almost $3.
Have it.
Does it run at night?
No, not through the night. It just runs
When
through
you
the
jump
day.
on, I'll just get a free pass. Just joking. I'll pay you back on the way back.
What are you drinking?
30 on them.
Sky vodka.
Sky
Water.
Sky vodka and water.
Water.
I love the way you talk, Shorty.
These girls have such warmth and humor, but they're dissolving in the strong spirits the Europeans introduced. I wonder what kind of help they can get. At the local community center, I visit Mel Basil, who works to try and break the vicious cycle.
I'm a facilitator with alcohol and drug counseling. We form either treatment plans, so we can figure out whether people need treatment, or we will train them for harm reduction, so they can at least keep themselves safe while they're making their choices with substances. There was a lot of substance addictions and misuse over our history with substances because of trauma. Unresolved trauma causes a lot of our people to reach for substances to cope. Some people don't care enough for their body or for their life, and they might be living self-destructive, and it might be related to being suicidal.
We're like, fuck it. Let us go.
I saw some of the people here who are dealing with addiction just hanging out on the bench. Is it difficult to get those people inside of the Friendship Center and to help them?
I don't know if I would say difficult. It's more patient work. we can't be in a hurry. So I've described it where if one of my clients needs 99 chances to come to see me, I will give them those 99 chances. And after that 99th chance, if they need more 99 chances, I'll give them 99 more chances. It has to be patient that way because serving people with addictions, we can't force them to make changes. The only way their changes will last is if they want to make those changes. It's scary to many. If they're still coping with traumas, how do they trust others to build a connection?
I've seen the mayor of Smithers cycle by a couple of times now. He seems approachable. What is he doing to mend all this hurt?
There's been so much social and economic marginalization of Indigenous people. And as a result, there's extreme poverty, and there are some really serious underlying issues that lead to women and girls being subjected to so much violence.
And how do you tackle those issues as a mayor?
As a mayor, yeah. Well, it has to do with thinking about our history with Indigenous people, how we've related to them in this community. And that's something over the past few years we've been starting to grapple with. Since the town of Smithers was founded in 1913, there was a small settlement of Indigenous families on the outskirts of town where the A&W restaurant now is. Mm-hmm. And over time, as the town grew, there were more and more efforts by the local government to push those people out of their homes and to remove them from the community. It was seen as a blight in the community, as being unsightly and unkempt, and they wanted to push those people out. And so what we've done is documented some of the stories behind that history and acknowledged that things were not handled in a just way.
Things were not handled in a just way. Now that's an understatement. For over a century, the Canadian government had an official policy to put Indigenous children in residential schools. These Christian schools were intended to eradicate the Indian in the children, shaping them into civilized Canadian citizens.
Get back to your lesson once again on telephone conversation manners. Can you tell me some of the points that you should remember when you are using the telephone? Thinking along the courtesy line, aren't you?
But it was not just the Indian within the child that was destroyed. Thousands of children died due to abuse, neglect, or suicide. The last residential school closed its doors in 1996.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Deliver us from the evil. Amen.
Good night, girls, and God bless you.
I was sent to residential school when I was 5.5, and I was there for 7 years. At the time, me and my brother, we still slept beside Mom and Dad. Imagine what it was like when they took us away, and we're never to see our parents for 10 months of the year, for 7 years.
They just took you.
It was torture, actually, because I couldn't eat for about a month or so because I couldn't swallow. I kept on crying for my mom and dad. It's another story of my life that has happened when I was small. And then that does something to a person when this happens. And the residential school, they have a lot to repair because it has happened to so many. And the friends that I had from residential school, most of them had committed suicide. I'm one of the lucky ones that didn't commit suicide.
So are people still camped out these days?
Yeah, that's what we're looking for, is that tent last night and we got lost.
Oh, really? Are they camped out by the golf course? Is that where?
No, I have a tent out there.
Oh, you do?
And I was trying to bring these
What
guys.
are you going to do when it gets colder?
Go back in the bush. We slept in the bush 40 below.
Yeah, I know, Herb.
Jada, are you still going to be a mayor here in a year?
Remains to be seen. Yeah, I'm running in this other election for the federal government.
Yeah.
And see if we can create some change there. I think you've seen the housing project. What do you guys think of the housing project? Good Acre Place.
Good.
I wouldn't
Yeah?
I live there.
trying to get in there, but I heard it's full, so.
Yeah. So we've made a bit of progress on issues around housing, but as you can hear, it's not enough.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep fighting for more till everyone's got a home. That's the goal.
I sleep behind a liquor store sometimes. That's when they had a bush there. It was a good sized bush, nice and dry.
And now
Kept
there's
warm.
a liquor store there.
Are they?
I just walk across the street and get a bottle for myself.
These issues have been around for a long time, right? And I feel like we're dealing with the symptoms, but we're not dealing with the underlying cause. And the reserve system and the banning of traditional governance systems, the residential school system, these were all efforts to essentially eliminate Indigenous culture. It's been called a genocidal policy in Canada. And to the degree that's possible, we have to right those wrongs.
Those are some lovely words. But at the same time, this mayor leaves his town the very moment a better opportunity presents itself. There's no lack of sympathetic sounding leaders in Canada, with, as the prime example, Justin Trudeau. We see him here accepting the report of the National Inquiry.
To the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls of Canada, to their families and to survivors, we have failed you. We will fail you no longer. I want you to know that this report is not the end. This will not be placed on a shelf to collect dust. I know and you know that we need to fix the way things work in this country.
Trudeau says he is not going to just put the book on the shelf. Well, then if he's not going to put the book on the shelf, then we want to see action. And like only 6 months ago, my other cousin, Cindy Martin, went missing. So to have 2 people missing in our families, it's, Ramona was 25 years ago and my cousin Cindy was 6 months ago when she went missing, and it hasn't stopped. They say things are going to change, but there has been no action. Like the police should actually get on a case when they say there's a missing person. Because when Ramona went missing, they said that she was a runaway. We knew she wasn't a runaway. When Cindy went missing, they said, oh, she's probably fighting with her boyfriend, or, like there was all there. They always say there's something going on and you gotta wait 24 to 48 hours. Well, time is of the essence. Yeah. We need action right away. Like, that's out of character for her.
Yeah. And you think they treat you differently when you come with this information than they would a non-native person?
Yes. Because in the past, Melanie Carpenter went missing in Vancouver. Right away, they jumped on it and it was all over the media. It was all over. But now it's just like, how does that work? Why is it because a Native woman goes missing, there's nothing on TV, There's no media. How do you get the media to respond? How do you get the police to respond? How do you change these things?
When I first arrived in Smithers, I assumed we would be talking about missing cases from a long time ago. But as the women here tell me, and the posters in the window confirm, this is an ongoing tragedy. One of the recent victims is Jessica Patrick. Driving around, our crew stumbled upon the cross commemorating Jessica. She was found along a road leading up to a ski hill. Jessica's Aunt Mary was among the people who found her. She has agreed to tell me more about her niece's disappearance.
Jessica was kind of bounced around. Her mom was kind of lost. The alcohol became the best of her. And then Jessica couldn't stay with her. She was in a foster homes about 2 or 3 times since she was a little girl. And she stayed with the grandparents for a while. After the grandparents both passed away, she was with the auntie, and she met a boy, and they have a little girl that she's 2 years old now.
Can you tell me about how you found out that she was missing, about the day?
It all started on a fall fair weekend. Usually there's a fall fair here in Smithers. And on the 31st, that was the last time she was seen. And then I phoned the auntie who Jess was staying with. And then they said, have you guys reported to the police? And then we said, yes. And we phoned the RCMP, and there was no case. There wasn't no missing person case that was open yet. And that's already been 4 or 5 days. So we sort of put things together ourselves. I said, let's search, let's ask questions, let's do our own thing. The first thing I said to my husband was, if it was somebody else here in this town that accidentally did something to her, Tony, where's the quickest place, do you think, they would dispose of her, you know? And then the first thing we set towards the ski hill. So we looked around for quite a while. There was this little tracks that I noticed, but it was so straight, and I found it very odd to be straight line down. Then I told Tony, maybe you should check. As soon as he took about maybe 4 or 5 steps down, it was getting steep, and then he slipped. And then when he got up, all of a sudden, I seen him leaning forward. And then he said, Mary, call the cops. I said, why, Tony? And then he started screaming. I never heard a man scream in my lifetime. It got me so scared. I started screaming. The way he described it was, she was laying like, almost like sitting a bit, but laying back. But from what we heard looks like she was tossed.
You had to do all of this police work yourself.
We basically did ourselves. That's what I mean. If we didn't do this, you know, do the investigation ourselves and ask questions, we probably would have never found her. You can let go your balloon so you can see it go all the way up. Let go your balloon.
The place where Jessica was found suggests that she was killed by someone who knew his way around here. In the summer of 2020, her case has still not been solved. Her story indicates once again that Indigenous people can expect little from the police. What do they do to keep holding on and to heal?
Last year, we hosted Solidarity Paddle. We wanted to show our younger generations what solidarity looks like. Something common that our people learn from residential school history is lateral violence. It's very common in our families and in our community. It's how we treat each other because of colonization. We've been divided so many times as a people. We've been divided many times over, so we don't know how to be in solidarity anymore. So we act out towards each other because we might lack the words on how we're feeling. So because we can't express it with words, we're expressing it with actions. And often those actions are violent or disrespectful. And lateral violence is, it's a result of residential school and colonization as a whole. And we wanted to show our younger people that there's a beautiful part of our culture. Make one plate for Elder's plate. And I'll bring it on the canoe with us and we'll offer it to the water.
If you guys want to put one little piece of your chip in there, would be great. Thank you.
This is a replica of our traditional canoes. Our local artist designed these designs. At the stern here is elder killer whales teaching the younger killer whales about healthy community. At the bow is a lake monster design, and the lake monster is a supernatural creature. When we did this workshops with our community to ask our community, what is a healthy community to you? Late Jessica Patrick's mother and Jessica herself, they were at our workshops, and they said lake monsters are in all of our lakes. And we thought about how that relates to healthy community. When our people are self-regulating our law, we don't have enforcement like police or jails or prisons. We have supernatural creatures watching us. Nature's watching us. We're more concerned with what nature has in store for us if we break our own laws. And a supernatural creature like a lake monster is a reminder of that nature is watching. And this lake monster design is now on this canoe.
Yeah, yeah, it's an honor to Jessica as well.
Yes.
You need one as well, right? Can I hold your paddle and then you can take it?
This is a ceremonial paddle, and it has a painting of a trickster. The trickster shows up in our lives as either a raven, or sometimes a deer, or a man, and can transform from these shapes. So it represents a lot of our own transformation, shining our light on what's new to us, what's ahead of us, but also what still lives in our people that's from the past, like artwork, paddling big canoes, knowledge of our land, knowledge of our history and our culture is a transformation back to who we were before colonization, before Canada was born.
It's reawakening the Indian.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because the policies and the residential schools were meant to kill the Indian and the child, but save the man. We're looking to put the Indian back in the child and the man and the women. And we call that re-indigenization. Right now, we're actively decolonizing ourselves. Okay, let it ride. Okay, I want forward strokes. Paddles up. Good, neck, kakai, take it away. Nif. So I'm gonna chant the word niftak. Say it with me. Niftak. When you're pulling the paddle, you're chanting the word. Niftak. It means let's all pull together.